Hi Carol, here's the tutorial on how we can actually do the SEO, and this is a quick crash course on what you need to look out for and what are the some of the terminologies that you need to understand when you're doing your SEO. Okay, first thing that you need to be familiar is actually what we call the short tail and the long tail keywords. To describe them in shorter terms, the short tail keywords are general topics, which means that they are usually 1 to 3 words per target keyword. On the other hand, long tail keywords are more specific phrases, and usually they are 3 to 5 words in one phrase. Okay, usually the big telltale sign that you're dealing with a long tail keyword is because they are usually addressed as questions, or they are more question like example, what is the meaning of this, or how do you fix the toilet seat, say for example. That's the keyword, that's a long tail keyword. And the short tail keyword will be something like toilet seat removal. That will be a short tail keyword. Or finding toilets, that's another short tail keyword. So that's generally the difference. um, Also, one thing to take note is I, I I always apply this as a general rule that in every 250 words of content, I only use about 3 to 5 keywords. Okay, and since your blog is all about content marketing, or uh, we only call it content marketing because your blog posts are full of insightful content. So in SEO terms, that's content marketing. So since your blog posts are full of informative content, I usually use the ratio 1:2, which is one short tail keyword is equal to two long tail keyword. So um, for a rough math, for example, your blog is 250 words, I would use around 5 keywords, and I would actually divide it as two short tail keywords and then three long tail keywords on the whole content itself. But that entirely depends up to you and how you spread the keywords, because usually you can not really follow this specific rule. It's just a general rule of thumb that I apply when I'm doing my SEO. But you can go more than 3 to 5 keywords on 250 words content, as long as it's spaced correctly. Okay, so don't put all of the keywords, because that will be tagged as keyword stuffing by Google if you put in 5 keywords in one paragraph. So make sure that they're spread out evenly inside the content. Okay. Now let's have an example. So what I'm doing here is I'm logged on into your website. I'm gonna click on post. I'm gonna hover my mouse on post and then click on all posts. Let's wait until that loads up. Okay. Then I'm going to edit this particular blog post, the latest one, which was published in October 2nd. Okay. The memorial post, a memories of the markers here. So I'm gonna hover over there and then right click on edit and then click on open in new tab. Okay. All right. So up in here on the initial screen, you would already see some things that you need to make sure that it is correct. The first thing that you need to check is actually the URL or the permalink. Make sure that it is actually um, correct and containing the keyword already. So in this case, the title will be the first part, HTTPS colon double slash www.caldusair.com/Philippines is a default because Philippines is the main is the primary category for this blog post. So that's the reason why it's actually under that category slash Philippines. Now the next part is actually usually when you're creating a new content, the this part of the URL is automatically created from the title. So that's the reason why usually when you're preparing a new blog post, you insert the title first so that the WordPress backend automatically creates this link for you or the rest of the URL for your particular blog post. And by the looks of it, it's actually correct. Memorial post, a memorist of the Marcos years part 2. Okay, so that's fine. So that's the first thing you need to check is actually if you have the correct keywords, if there are no typos, if it contains the keywords. In this case, actually, Marcos is actually part of the short tail keyword that we will be doing in the example. So let's leave it at that. But sometimes if you are not decided on what would be the keyword that you are going to, if the keyword is already included in your title, that's fine. If you don't want to force it, that's fine. But if you are able to hone in, I mean uh, home in the keyword in each particular blog post, then that would be better. Okay, like I'm clicking OK here, so that's fine. Now, as you go through the body of the 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 content of the whole blog, we'll check that out later. I'll be giving you some tips on how to go across this. So I'm just scrolling down here, and I'm going to the next part that you need to make sure that you are addressing properly. Okay, so in here in this particular area with where it says like this is after the text editor of WordPress. Okay, at the very bottom or just beneath the not really at the very bottom but right after the text editor, you would see something that's called Yoast SEO in here. Let's drop that down. Let's open it up. Okay. At the bottom, you would see Yoast SEO. And then there are a number of things that you need to address here, okay? The first thing that you need to address is actually the meta description, which is actually what will appear on this particular part of the site. See in here, there's an example like a preview of a Google. This is the Google preview on the mobile result when your article actually appears on the search engine results pages. So this is how it will look like. So usually you could go and plug in or type in a summary in here that actually includes the keywords. So let's say for example a quick story about um, martial law from the eyes of a survivor. Listen in to the first-hand story of a Marcos of a survivor. Okay, let me just pause in here first. You see this particular progress bar in here that turns that is initially colored orange, and then as I add in some more words it will turn green. Okay, so this is the first aim when you're doing the the um, the meta description. You need to make sure that you're hitting the green bar because that's the suggested length. of doing a meta description. However, you can't go past that, or else it will not fit the meta description when someone searches for your blog. Okay, so you need to make sure it fits this particular progress bar in here and not exceed it. So, for example, listening to the first-hand story of our survivor of the martial law under Marcos. Okay, so that's fine. But if I add in a bunch of words, it will turn red again because it's exceeding already the allowed characters in the meta description. So let's leave it at that. For example, that's already fine. Okay. Now you can actually check how it will look like if a PC, computer, or a Mac actually searches for your blog under the desktop results, and it will show up like this. Okay. So I think that's fine on the mobile result and the desktop. Okay, so that's all good. Now the next thing is actually I'm just clicking between mobile result and desktop result. Okay, this is just a preview so that you have a general insight of how it's going to look like. The slug part, usually you don't have to edit this because it is also related to the blog post title, and usually this is correct or be automatically generated in the best possible structure. The next thing that you need to address is actually the SEO title. In here, you would the Yoast SEO plugin actually automatically tags the title and then the page and then a separator which is the dash and then the site title. Usually, it's all good, but in the cases wherein the blog title is actually too long and it actually exceeds this particular line or this progress bar, example, if I add in some more stuff, then it will not show up on the search engine result pages. I mean the rest of the words, and it will only show up as a couple of ellipses. You want to try and avoid that, and in some cases, the site title actually is the one making the results too long. If you think that is the case, then you can just go ahead and hit backspace on your keyboard here until you can delete that. Okay. Also, you can delete the separator. Okay, just to make it shorter. But on this case, it's actually pretty good. The size of the overall SEO title is very good. It fits correctly, so let's leave it at that. Okay. On some occasions, you would also feel the need to actually just rewrite the title all um, all by yourself, especially if what happens is that the original title of the blog is actually pretty long that it doesn't fit the limitations in here in SEO title. Sometimes you need to rewrite the title on this particular section only so that it appears better on search engine results pages. So take note of that. But usually, since Yoast SEO is already smart, the plugin is already smart, it will actually come up with a good title already that is in accordance to what are the guidelines with Google. So that's okay. All right. Now another thing. This is something that you might want to check after you have done the the revisions in the body text. So sometimes after you have done all the revisions in the body text, you want to click on SEO analysis right here, then click on this seemingly uh, downward pointing arrowhead. So click on that, and then it will give you some information in here that you might want to address. Now, um, try as much as possible to actually hit everything as green, like this in the bottom. um, those orange, if you are able to change those, like image key phrase, this is an entirely different video on doing image SEO. But if you can address those and you already know, make sure that that is green. The key phrase strength, the key phrase length, The key phrase length, since we didn't specify any key phrase in here, don't mind these, okay? If this problem appears, don't mind it, because we're not setting a specific key phrase in each and every blog. That's actually dependent on the content itself. So this is something, this particular problem in the SEO analysis tool is something that you can disregard. The rest of this, address it as we can, okay? So let me just go ahead and minimize that once again by clicking this upward arrow head. Okay, so that's already hidden. Now let's go to the body. I just did the quick skim of the content, and this is what I was able to come across as the best possible keywords that we can use. Okay, let me just open up my Microsoft Word. Okay, and this is actually, I'm going to paste in what I think would be the best keywords if you're only targeting 5. So um, let me just increase the font size so you can see better. Okay, so for the short tail keywords, I'm using martial law and then Susan Kimpo. Okay, for the long tail keywords, what I would want to use is actually Philippine martial law history and then activism during martial law. Also, if you can insert this as sort of like an explanation to throw it out there, is what is the armed resistance against Marquez? If other people will be searching for it, armed resistance against Marcos, this is a long tail keyword, okay? So we are going to insert this if we can, all right? So let's go back to the blog itself. Um, Here's what thing I'm going to do. I'm gonna see if martial law is actually written. It is. It's mentioned a couple of times. That's okay. In here as well. Yeah, in here. Every paragraph once. Paragraph once. Paragraph once. Okay. The only problem that I might see will be working against us is actually this one. In this particular paragraph, it was mentioned twice. So if you can do a change in here, that would be fine. If you cannot, then don't sweat it out. It's okay. Okay. So let's see what would be the next short tail keyword. Um, I think I used Susan Gimpo, mentioned here, mentioned on the image captions, mentioned once. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to search in for the first long tail keyword, which is actually Philippine martial law history. I'm not seeing that. Let's remove Philippines. Okay, martial law history is mentioned once on the blog, and that's fine because that's a long tail keyword. Okay, um, it's bound to be mentioned only a few times in inside the body context. The short tail keywords, I forgot to remind you that sometimes it appears multiple times inside the blog, so that's fine as long as you can spread it out. Okay, so at this case, martial law history is only mentioned once. That's fine. If you could actually add in here Philippine as a predecessor, uh, the word before martial law, that would be fine. But if you can't, if it entirely changes the the flow of in, the content, then feel free to not follow that. Okay, that's just an example I was looking to demonstrate in this particular blog. Now the next long tail keyword I have is actually called activism using martial law. Nope, there's nothing written like that. And during martial law is actually mentioned twice inside the blog, so that's fine. But if you can actually add in another word on the beginning, which is activism, actually it's in here, activism during martial law. Not sure why it didn't appear on my search earlier, but this is actually the long tail keyword I was looking for. activism during martial law. So it was mentioned once in here in the blog. So yes, that's fine. Now the other one is when I the last long tail keyword I was looking forward to employing here is actually what is the armed resistance against Marcos? I highly doubt that there's a phrase like that in here. Okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense. But anyways, if I try to shorten now to armed resistance against Marcos, it's still not mentioned. Um, about armed resistance only. Armed resistance is um, actually the whole phrase armed resistance against Marcos is mentioned. So that's fine. So in this case, this blog is actually written very good. I think the keywords are written completely fine and implemented on the content itself. It's okay. It's very well spaced out, except for the I think martial law because it was mentioned twice in one paragraph. But I don't think they're too close together. So I think that's all. I mean, it entirely depends on you and how you want to judge it. I mean, I'm no particular expert when it comes to grammar, but as far as SEO is concerned, the spacing of keywords should be implemented in every content. So if you feel that it will break the flow of your content if you remove the other mention of the word martial law in the same paragraph, then so be it. Don't specifically follow these guidelines just for the sake of following them because um, as another tip in the world of SEO, you're not supposed to, or not really, but it is okay. It is generally accepted that you will not be hitting 100% of all the best practices in SEO. So if you are in a position wherein you can only implement about 80 to 95% of the general guidelines in SEO, that's fine. As long as you're making a genuine effort to actually implement it and not sound spammy or just plain selling something. Okay, so if you're able to do that, then all the best. That's the end of my tips when it comes to on-page SEO. Another tip that I was supposed to tell you, but I'm actually doubting myself at this point, is actually to use headers. What I meant by that is some of your keywords could be implemented using headers. Like for example, the format of this section in here in WordPress is called paragraph, right? Now, when you're doing SEO and you want to direct the focus on a specific keyword, usually you would use header 1, 2, or 3. And I think um, this written phrase in here which says like Susan's story is written under paragraph format. I guess I can switch it to header 2. And then since our keyword is actually our short tail keyword is actually Susan Kimpo, I can actually do something like this. Susan Kimpo's story. So that can be done because this is part of the keyword, okay? Um, I'm not saying that you should always implement this, but if there's any chance that you can do like, headings H1, 2, 3, I'm not sure how big is H3. Yeah, it looks fine. So if you can implement like heading 2 or heading 3 in your content, that would be great. So that it denotes, it tells the search engines that something that you mentioned or you highlighted is actually pretty important information inside the blog. So only do those for short tail keywords, okay? Not for long tail keywords. It doesn't sit well with Google search pages if you actually have headers on such long tail keywords, okay? So I think that's about it. You can click on save in here and that's all fine. I think I didn't do much changes in here except for the meta description, which is something I'm going to erase. You could do it yourself. You'd be best doing those yourself, like a summary. So yeah, I think this is fine. Mhm. Yeah, I think this is fine. Um, maybe another tip. Before I let you go. If you're able to employ what we call an outbound link, do so. Like for example, this one. I think, yeah, this is an outbound link towards a Rappler article, and that's good. That's actually pretty good. Let's just go ahead and try to see first if this is the correct. This is a working link. Yep, that's okay. No, that was deleted by Rappler already. And that is something that we need to correct later on, because if the link is not actually working, it will do more damage to your blog than good. So if it's, in this case, if the blog isn't working, if the link is not working, just delete it. Okay. But I leave I will leave that instruction with you, so that I can check your work. And once you did like 5 to 10 blogs, I'm going to check in and see if you're doing fine. Okay. So that's about it. Thank you, Carol. You have a great night. Bye bye.